Part 77. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 761. Seeing that his emotions had affected him, Wen Qiao pretended to be relaxed and said, "This is the first year that my uncle comes home. I have to spend the new year with him, so I won't go to your house. His grandfather is not in good health. If he goes to Fu's house on New Year's Eve and makes him angry, it will be more than worth the gain. On the first day of the new year, I will take you to Yuanyi's mansion to meet grandma, okay?" Wen Qiao, "That's okay." The result of the little girlfriend's displeasure was that the eldest young master dressed her and her whole family in top-notch luxury brand name outfits from head to toe. Wen Qi and Wen Mo were given joint limited edition sneakers. Wen Qi held the sneakers signed by the famous NBA star and almost burst into tears. "Brother-in-law, Fu Nanli is my biological brother-in-law. My dear. My brother-in-law asked me to go up the mountain of swords and go into the frying pan, and I, Wen Qi, will never say no character." Su Yun looked at the Hermes leather bag on the table and felt a little uneasy. Qiao, what Nanli bought is too expensive, so this is not good." Wen Qiao, "He has bought everything, so just keep it. I will also buy things for him. Don't worry." The day before New Year's Eve, Su Ying and her family came again. Wen Qi complained, "Their family is bartering for things again. Although Aunt He Mei brings things every time, whether she treats them sincerely or wants to get some light because Wen Qiao and Fu Nanli are together, everyone is not a fool and can tell. Su Yun has a clear mind and never lets them suffer a loss every time, and always gives them something with a higher price in return." Wen Qiao sighed in his heart and hoped that this family would try not to come here in the future. When Su Ying entered the room, she saw her brother-in-law Su Si reading a book. Because it was winter vacation, Wen Qiao was very strict, especially hoping that he could get a college degree so that he could find a more relaxed and decent job. Su Ying saw her brother-in-law reading advanced mathematics and couldn't help but sneered, "Do you understand?" Wen Qiao frowned, "Why is Su Ying so in need of lessons anytime and anywhere?" Su Si was not annoyed, and looked very friendly. "I understand." A welfare lottery was being broadcast on the TV. A series of blue and green numbers at the bottom scrolled slowly. Su Si glanced at it casually. "Uncle, don't pretend to be fat. As soon as you graduated from elementary school, you started studying advanced mathematics. This is called pretending to be fat, you know? You should take it step by step." Wen Qiao put half of the orange into his uncle's hand. "This one is sweet." Su Si broke off a piece and put it in his mouth, and said with a smile, "I can make a Qiao earn 100,000 now, can you do it?" Su Ying was stunned. What do you mean?" Su Si glanced at the TV again. "Ah Qiao, go to the newsstand at the intersection and buy a lottery ticket. The numbers are 04050717182901. Wen Qiao stood up and walked out. "I'll go right away." Wen Qi, "I'll go with you." Wen Mo, "I will go too." Su Ying was a little confused. What do you mean?" Su Si smiled, "You'll know in a moment." After a while, Wen Qiao bought back the lottery ticket that her uncle asked her to buy. "Uncle, I bought it back." Su Ying folded her arms and rolled her eyes from time to time, with a face that said, "I'll see what tricks you can do." Su Si looked at the TV and said, "Well, there are still 10 minutes left, and this lottery will be drawn. Time is urgent. I can only calculate the winning number of 100,000 yuan. Su Ying said poof unceremoniously, "Uncle, think about it, the lottery will be drawn in 10 minutes, it won't be good to be embarrassed in front of so many juniors." Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 762. Wen Qiao clenched her fist. but Susie held down her small fist in a good-tempered manner, then wait 10 minutes and see. Time moved forward minute by second, and the closer it was to the critical point, the more anxious Su Ying became. She sneered in her heart, she was so anxious. Her brother-in-law didn't have a high level of education, but he had no bottom line when he boasted, and he would definitely be slapped in the face in a moment. 10 minutes are up, and the female anchor on TV starts to draw the prize. The first grand prize we unveiled is the third prize of this issue, and the winning number is 04. Su Ying's heart suddenly trembled, and then she comforted herself. She just figured out a set of numbers, so why panic? 0507, the female host deliberately gave it away, and the male host next to her looked nervous and anxious. Can you read it all in one go? Don't whet the audience's appetite. The female host smiled and said, 17, 18, 29. Su Ying stared at the lottery numbers in Wen Qiao's hand, her face turned livid. Can't she? A blind cat meets a dead mouse? The last set of numbers is 01. Male host, congratulations to this lottery player, the grand prize of 100,000 belongs to you. Please go to the designated outlet within 7 days to claim your grand prize. Wen Qiao waved the small lottery ticket in front of Su Ying. Did you see it? In a short period of time, my uncle used his mathematical knowledge to calculate the 100,000 yuan. Well, you should be good at mathematics. Come on, calculate. How long did it take for my uncle to earn 100,000 yuan? It seems like half an hour. Can you calculate how much he can earn per month? He may had been stunned for a long time. She remembered that her brother-in-law was very smart when he was a child. He was abducted and came back over the years. Unexpectedly, he was even worse than before. When he first came back, she was the one who neglected him. Such a smart person can make a fortune even if he just gambles. Su Ying wanted to save face and suffer the consequences. Oh, I'm just lucky. What? Is it possible that my uncle can still make a living by buying lottery tickets? Su Ce thought that he could indeed do it, but it was just not interesting. Wen Qiao raised his eyebrows. If you dare to act strangely in front of my uncle in the future, believe it or not, I will deal with you. Su Ying jumped. Wen Qiao, what's your attitude? I am your cousin after all, I am older than you. Wen Qiao crossed his arms. Whatever you are, I will be the same. If you want to gain respect from others, you must first calm down your own attitude. Su Ying was still arrogant, but he may grabbed her and said, I apologize to your uncle. Su Ying, why should I apologize? Didn't you just say that your brother-in-law is uneducated and can't understand advanced mathematics? Are you talking to elders like this? Apologize quickly. Su Ying was so angry that smoke was rising from her head. Wen Qiao and Wen Qi were both little bandits, and no one was easy to mess with. The two of them sat on the sofa angrily, as if as long as she refused to apologize, the ruffian brother and sister would he would jump over and beat her up. She was scared, she admitted it, and she reluctantly apologized to the uncle who only had a primary school diploma. I'm sorry, uncle, I shouldn't have looked down on you just now. Su Ce half smiled but said, just admit your mistake sincerely. He may said enthusiastically, Su Ce, you see you haven't even sat at my house when you came back. Otherwise, tomorrow New Year's Eve, all of you will go to my house for New Year's Eve dinner? My living room is very spacious, enough for sitting. So many people. Wen Qiao laughed in his heart. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 763. When her uncle first came back, Her eldest aunt learned that her uncle only had a primary school diploma and was only working in an amusement park for a monthly salary of several thousand yuan, so she treated her with a cold expression. Now that I knew my uncle was very capable of making money, I became extremely enthusiastic. This family is so realistic that it makes people feel ridiculous. So Ce said calmly, "No, sister's New Year's Eve dinner is ready." He Mei added, "Then our family will bring some food over and eat it here." Wen Qiao, "I'm sorry, my living room is small and I can't sit in the room." Fortunately, Mother and Uncle Ji were washing dishes in the kitchen, otherwise it would be hard to save face. He Mei smiled, "Then, let's talk about the Lantern Festival, okay? You all go to our place during the Lantern Festival. Let's get together as a family and celebrate Su Ci's return. What do you think, Wen Qiao?" Wen Qiao raised his eyebrows, "Let's talk about it later. My aunt's behavior of not letting go of rabbits is really a bit disdainful." He Mei said a lot of words passionately, but the four people across from her didn't respond to her. She wisely pulled her husband and daughter, said goodbye to Su Yunji Mingyuan in the kitchen, and left Wen Qiao's house. In the alley, Su Ying said angrily, "What a piece of shit luck, Mom, you can't wait to get in there again, look at them, they're going to do evil things." Wen Qiao's sugar daddy, brother-in-law, is no different from gambling, it's nothing a good thing, just treat them as a treasure. He Mei was so angry that she slapped her on the head, "You damn girl, your father has spoiled you so much that you don't even look at you. Even though your brother-in-law has a primary school diploma, he has such a brain, but he can't do anything. Please be polite to him in the future. Did you hear that?" Su Ying stamped her feet, "If you want to flatter me, you go and flatter me. I won't flatter that damn girl Wen Qiao." After saying that, he ran out in anger. Wen Qiao is waiting, she and Yao Heng will definitely use time to prove that those who rely on crooked ways will eventually reveal their true colors. She was waiting for the day when her uncle's car overturned, and for the day when Wen Qiao was kicked away by Master Fu. In the room, Wen Qiao had not yet recovered from the shock. Xiao Mo had also helped her raise money by buying lottery tickets before, but Xiao Mo spent 3 days in a row, bought nearly 10,000 yuan in lottery tickets, and scraped for a long time before finally finding the winning ticket. As for my uncle, he was able to calculate the lottery numbers for the 100,000 grand prize after just looking at them for more than 10 minutes. This shows that my uncle's mathematical attainments are even better than Xiao Mo's. Xiao Mo has already reached the level of a national champion in the mathematical Olympiad. Where is my uncle? My uncle, this is a level where mathematicians can participate in rocket research and development. Being a paid ticket seller in an old amusement park would be too unqualified. However, my uncle seems to be a Buddhist, so let him do whatever he wants and get the certificates he needs to take first. Gu Yunzu spent New Year's Eve in the procurator's shelter because Ye Mingkai formally prosecuted her for huge property fraud. With Fu Zianyuan, psychiatrist in Country M, as a witness, the procuratorate officially opened the case and Gu Yunzu was imprisoned. She was on the verge of irritability every day, and her lawyer would visit her once every 2 days to ask her relevant questions. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 764. Gu Yunzu said angrily, "I entrusted you to trace the whereabouts of my son, have you found it?" "Your son brought a Browning to Xiaotangshan. He was seriously injured afterwards and was admitted to Master Fu's private hospital. He was seriously injured and fell into a coma. He had a tendency to be in a vegetative state. He seemed to have been taken away by some mysterious person. There is no record of leaving the country. It seems that he was taken away by a private plane, most likely going to Country M. Go to Country M to find him and bring him back. Only if he is here can you inherit Fu Zianyuan's property. Fu Zianyuan's property during his lifetime will most likely be taken back by Ye Mingkai, but Gu Xiao will have his property after his death. The one who has the right to inherit will bring Gu Xiao back to me no matter the cost, do you understand? I try my best. The lawyer was also amazed. He learned that his son might become a vegetable and would not wake up for a while. However, this mother still only fought for the family property and fought so many inheritance disputes. It was the first time that the lawyer saw such a cruel mother. What Gu Yunzu was thinking was that even if the tens of millions she had previously paid back, even if she spent a few more years in jail, she would still get what she deserved, even in jail. It's a pity that her son, who has been brainwashed for many years, is the most uncertain factor. On New Year's Eve, in the evening, the servants in the Fu family's mansion were busy and cooked a sumptuous New Year's Eve dinner. Fu Nanli and Ye Mingkaiu had a rare free time and were watching TV in the living room. The hosts sent festive New Year greetings one after another. Ye Mingkaiu chuckled, "This host is very eloquent. Let him host our annual meeting next year." Fu Nanli said indifferently, "You make the decision." "Hey, my eldest young master, can you give me some advice? Do you prefer a male host or a female host?" "Male." Ye Mingkaiu sneered, "Your aunt's company also invited celebrities to attend last year's event. Did you like any of them? Today's small idol groups invite two teams to sing and dance, which is quite lively. What do you think?" "It doesn't matter." Ye Mingkaiu rolled her eyes at him, "You are also a big shot in the entertainment industry. Those little idols are eager to perform at the China annual meeting. If you fall in love with the eldest young master, you might be given some resources on the spot. Who wouldn't want to join him? If you like excitement, then invite them to perform at next year's annual meeting. Recently, I invested money in MTV to organize a talent show. Then the stars who will form the group will be asked to perform last year. MTV is the platform that bought Wen Qiao's first TV series 18 Years Old and Slightly Sweet, which originally ranked third. Nowadays, there is a gradual trend to come out on top. In the old man's room, in a small hall outside the bedroom, a private doctor was taking his blood pressure. Dr. Lin looked at the numbers on the blood pressure meter and solemnly said, "The blood pressure is still a bit high. I will give instructions to the nutritionist. The other thing is that you have to be in a calm mood and not get angry." Fu Huaiyang straightened his sleeves and said, "If that boy doesn't get married, my heart will change." "Not angry? That kid is lawless and doesn't listen to him at all. Can you not be angry?" After Dr. Lin left, Fu Huaiyang's cell phone placed on the coffee table next to the sofa vibrated. He picked it up and saw an unknown text message on it, which read, "Wen Qiao is suffering from a strange disease and will die sooner or later. Stay with Fu Nanli. I am around you just for survival, not for love." Fu Huaiyang's heart sank suddenly. He dialed the phone and it showed that the number did not exist. He is old and does not understand the behavior of such computer experts. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 765. But he knew what the other party said. At the beginning, he had also heard some rumors that Wen Qiao had lied when he stayed with his grandson. Now it's right. That little girl has a strange disease and will die. She stays with Nan Li because Nan Li is rich. Can he spend money to help her see a doctor? Nan Li was really crazy. He just wanted to use her little girl against him for the sake of telling lies. Fu Nanli, who was watching TV in the living room, was called into his grandfather's room. "What's the matter with him?" Fu Nanli sat on the sofa motionless. Uncle Li said cautiously, "The old man seems to be in a bad mood." Ye Mingkaiu pressed his temples and said, "We're celebrating the new year, if there's anything we can't talk about until after the new year." Uncle Li smiled apologetically, "Master, you'll know after you go in and take a look." Fu Nanli entered his grandfather's room. It was a huge room. The old man made tea with his own hands, with a gloomy expression on his face. Let me ask you, did that girl Wen Qiao stay with you because she lied? Fu Nanli has dealt with this kind of problem several times, and he is quite comfortable with it. She didn't lie. We have been together for a long time. It was a rumor spread by some people with ulterior motives. Fu Huaiyang turned a deaf ear. She stayed by your side because of some strange illness, right? Fu Nanli's eyes flashed with evil thoughts. After all, he couldn't cover up the fact that Jiao Er relied on him to survive. Now many people know it. I don't know what you are talking about. It's getting late. Today is New Year's Eve. Grandpa, let's have New Year's Eve dinner first. After that, he was about to walk out. There is no point in saying more, so there is no need to say more. Stop, the old man finally lost his temper. Come here. Fu Nanli paused and understood his grandfather's anger. I really don't understand, what's so good about that girl? A bad birth is the second thing. Does a liar's mouth mean there is something wrong with her character, and she stays with you? It's not because I like you, but because I want to use you, but because I want to use your money to help her treat her illness. Nan Li, please wake up, the heir of the Fu family shouldn't be so careless just for the sake of a woman. Fu Nanli lowered his eyes. I handle my own affairs myself. Grandpa, you are not in good health. It's time to take care of yourself and stop asking about the younger generation's affairs. Fu Huaiyang slammed the table. Is this your attitude when talking to your grandfather? Then I will also put my attitude here. That girl wants to enter the Fu family's door unless I die. Fu Nanli frowned deeply and his mandibular muscles tensed. Today is New Year's Eve. Do you really want to say this at this time? But the old man couldn't listen to what he said at all. He only insisted on his own opinion. She has two mentally ill brothers, and she has strange problems herself. If you two are together, the child you give birth to will definitely be abnormal. I will as a grandson like you. Why can't you listen to me? Can your grandfather still harm you? Fu Nanli couldn't hold it back after all. Do you know that my father suffers from depression? The diseases that Fu Nanli and Ye Mingkai can talk about frankly are, for Fu Huaiyang, a sensitive and taboo topic that cannot be touched. He just looked livid and did not answer the question. The eldest young master of the Fu family was born with a silver spoon in his mouth and lived a wealthy and privileged life with many servants, a lovely wife, and a well-behaved and excellent son just like him. Such people should not suffer from depression. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me. The boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 766. Seeing that his grandfather didn't reply, Fu Nanli said again, then do you know why he suffers from depression? Fu Huaiyang's eyelids trembled. What do you want to say? Fu Nanli looked cold and stern, because his life is never his own decision. Whether it is career or family, you have to intervene. You think he is not doing his job properly when he plays the violin. He doesn't want to marry my mother. You impose it on him. He is not happy, and neither is my mother. Your decision has made many people suffer. Fu Huaiyang was very emotional. What do you mean by this? Do you mean that I killed my own son? Fu Nanli lowered his eyes. I didn't mean that. I just told you that my father's depression is entirely because of you. After all, it was his grandfather, and he didn't want to say anything too harsh. After saying this, he turned around and left the old man's room. Fu Huaiyang only felt a throbbing pain in his heart. He reached out and grabbed the edge of the table, covering his heart tightly, and roared, "You bastard! Listen to what you are saying is treacherous. Is your father too fragile? Is he suffering from depression? Because he thinks too much, it's because I haven't given him enough training. He has an indecisive temper,
and it's because your grandma has allowed him to think wildly. Uncle Lee was too frightened to say anything. Old man, Darlin just said, you can't get angry, you. But he saw that the old man's face suddenly turned pale, sweat was pouring from his forehead, his hand was clutching his heart, and he felt as if he could not breathe. Old man, old man. In the hall outside, Yaminkyu certainly heard the old man's roar that shook the roof, and hurried to the old man's room. He saw the old man slumped on the sofa, and Uncle Lee was so frightened that he was confused. Yaminkyu shouted, Nan Lee, call Darlin over quickly. Your grandfather has fainted. Send him to the hospital quickly. Darlin, who had just returned to the back house, received the call and rushed over immediately. Fu Nanli, who was about to leave in frustration, had to stop and help his grandfather get into the car. Darlin followed the car in front. He and his mother got into another car together, and the three cars went straight to Fu's house. To a private hospital. The car was speeding all the way, and there were firecrackers and fireworks in the distant sky in the dark sky, but the atmosphere in the car was very solemn. Yaminkyu sighed softly, it's Chinese New Year for you, what did you say to make your grandpa so angry? Fu Nanli lowered his eyes, twirled his fingers, but did not speak. Is it related to Wenqiao? Only then did Fu Nanli gain some expression, I hope you won't interfere in my marriage like grandpa. Yaminkyu clicked his tongue, why do I feel so uncomfortable listening to your commanding tone? Fu Nanli turned to look out the window and into the dark night, without replying. Yaminkyu's heart tightened. She knew her son's temperament. If she opposed him and Wenqiao being together, he would probably end up alone in his life. She reached out and patted the back of his hand, don't worry, no matter what, I'm on your side. Your mother will support you in whatever you do. Fu Nanli's stern expression softened, and his voice was deep, thank you. Yaminkyu's nose felt sour, and she tsked, why are you so polite to your family? Fu Nanli said nothing. Yaminkyu knew that her son was a cold-hearted person who kept many words in his heart and would not easily say words like thank you to his mouth. His change was due to that little girl. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 767. One thing she always remembers is that her son's life was saved by that little girl. Fu Zhang plotted against her son and caused a car accident. It was the little girl who pulled him out of the car and saved his life. Otherwise, her son would have been buried in the fire. Not long ago, Gu Xiao took a handful of brownings and went to Xiaotangshan to settle the score with her son. People there said that at the critical moment, it was the little girl who stood in front of her son regardless of her own safety. Although there are no bullets in Gu Xiao's browning. But the little girl definitely didn't know that before. It is only natural that he would risk his life to protect the child who could sacrifice her life for him. As a mother, she is not so unreasonable that she can only let the little girl pay. Who is not the mother's little baby? The phone rang and Fu Nanli answered the call. Wenqiao's voice was on the other end. The background sound was the laughter of children. In the distance, there was Wenkai's shout, Wenqiao, come and set off the fireworks. If you don't come, why don't you come, I left it for you. Fu Nanli felt a little heavy in his heart. On New Year's Eve, other families were having reunion dinner, but he was on his way to send his grandfather to the hospital. Are you having New Year's Eve dinner? Wenqiao asked the person on the other end of the phone with a smile in his voice, ignoring Wenkai's shouting. Well, it's ready. It's almost time to eat. How about you? Wenqiao, Uncle Ji is still preparing. The New Year's Eve dinner is so sumptuous that he has been preparing it all afternoon. He is so hungry. Fu Nanli's expression softened a bit, your Uncle Ji is a good cook. Are you watching the Spring Festival Gala? Fu Nanli's migraine hit him without warning, and his temples hurt so much, I don't really want to see it. You can take a look. I'll send you a message at 12 o'clock, okay? I'm going to have dinner. I'll hang up now and wish you a Happy New Year. Well, Happy New Year. While Wen Qiao was having New Year's Eve dinner with his family, Fu Nanli stood outside the door of the emergency operating room, waiting for his grandfather's condition. At the dinner table, Su Si brought over a bottle of vinegar. Akiao, do you want to put some vinegar in the sauce? Put more. Su Yun said cheerfully, Qiao is really very similar to your uncle. Both of you like to eat sour food. It's normal for a niece to look like an uncle. Hairy crabs, fried shrimps in oil, beef stir-fried in sauce, grilled lamb chops, all of them are hard dishes. Wen Qi moved his index finger and said, Uncle Ji, tonight is a bit too rich. I guess I will eat at least 5 days worth of leftovers. Ji Mingyuan laughed and said, it's rare. Your uncle is back. The first New Year with us must be grand. After saying that, she opened a can of beer for each person, and Su Yun clicked her tongue, those 2 children are still underage. Ji Mingyuan poured half of it for each of them, 2 of them share a can. If it's not intoxicating, it's fine. The TV in the living room is always on, and the festive music is accompanied by the laughter and chasing of children in the alley. The New Year atmosphere is very strong. At the dinner table, Su Si took out 3 red envelopes for you. How could Wen Qiao stretch out this hand? Yesterday, my uncle reported the winning numbers in the lottery and insisted on letting them claim the prize. He said he had no need for the money. It could be said that he regarded money as dirt. But now, he was quite strapped for money and still wanted to send red envelopes to the 3 siblings. Wen Qiao really couldn't bear to accept his uncle's money. We are so old that we have stopped accepting red envelopes for a long time. Wen Qi touched his head, huh? Don't you want to accept it? Last year, Wen Qiao took a piece of sweet and sour pork ribs and stuffed it into his mouth. You can't stop eating, can you? Su Si suppressed a smile at the corner of his mouth. Not much, 600 per person, take it, Wen Qiao will be safe and happy. Wen Qi. Wen Mo. Nephews don't have names. 50 more explosive and complete. Please give me a monthly ticket. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 768. Wen Qiao hesitated to reach out for the red envelope handed over by his uncle. 1 person is 600, and 3 people is 1,800. My uncle's monthly salary is only more than 3,000. This red envelope is half of the salary as soon as it is given out. How can she accept it? Uncle, the red envelope we receive usually only costs 200 yuan, otherwise it would be 200 yuan per person. Su Si knew what his little girl was worried about and said, okay, then you can share the money in this red envelope with your brother. The little girl saves money for him, so forget it and don't let her worry about it anymore. Wen Qiao solemnly took the red envelope and looked at Wen Qi and Wen Mo, I'll give it to you after dinner. Mr. Qi. Am I the one who is short of these $200? Forget it, it's my uncle's wish, just keep it. But my uncle still has to work hard. He can't really make money by buying lottery tickets. Anyway, he is the one who makes the least money in the family except Xiao Mo. Su Si. Wen Mo. Brother, just be happy. This also strengthened Wen Qiao's determination to supervise his uncle's need to obtain a college diploma this time. He first set a small goal for him to help his uncle earn more than 10,000 yuan a month. In the hospital, Fu Nanli, Ye Mingkaiu, and Uncle Li were standing outside the operating room. Fu Chuan also rushed over, what's wrong with your grandpa? Fu Nanli pressed his temples, and Ye Mingkaiu explained, he had a cerebral infarction. He got angry this time and his blood pressure rose.
He was probably stimulated and he fainted just now. Fu Chuan looked at Fu Nanli, sit down and rest for a while. Don't worry too much. Li Fang and the others are doctors who have been treating your grandpa. They know his body and condition well, so nothing will happen to him. Fu Nanli responded lightly, yes. Yamingkaiu, you came all the way here. We are here. You can go back and have New Year's Eve dinner. Fu Chuan, it's okay, I'll stay with Nan Li. Yamingkaiu patted his shoulder, thank you for your hard work. Won't. The three big characters were always on during the operation. Fu Nanli stood there quietly, without saying a word or sitting down. Yamingkaiu didn't know what he was thinking. He must be in a very conflicted mood. On the one hand, he doesn't like his grandfather dictating his life, but on the other hand, this old man is a blood relative that he can't let go of. His grandfather also regarded him as his lifeblood. He said harsh words that made his grandfather pass out. He must be blaming himself in his heart. At 9 o'clock in the evening, the light at the door of the operating room went out. Fu Nanli's heart suddenly lifted. The door of the operating room opened and the chief surgeon walked up to him. The old man is fine, but he really can't have too much emotional fluctuations. Well, try not to make the old man angry, otherwise the consequences will be disastrous. Yamingkaiu's mood was a little complicated. I'm afraid she couldn't force the old man to deal with her son and Wenqiao. She could only slowly and step by step let the old man accept the child. Fu Huayong was transferred to the VIP ward. He woke up after a while. There was still a hanging needle inserted in the back of his hand and he looked a little haggard. Seeing Fu Nanli, he looked unhappy, opened his lips, and said to Yamingkaiu, do you know what this kid said? Yamingkaiu sat aside, serving tea and water, and said with utmost patience, what did he say to offend Dad? I will educate him in a while. This kid actually said that Xian Yuan suffered from depression because of me. Look at what nonsense he said. How dare Fu Huayong admit all this? If he admitted that he should not have interfered with his son's marriage, it would mean that he had admitted that he had made his son depressed and unhappy, and he also indirectly admitted that the death of his only son was entirely due to him. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 769. At this point, his psychological defense will completely collapse. He could only be stubborn, he didn't dare to admit it. What can Yamingkaiu say? The old man was used to being arbitrary in the Fu family, and he developed a self-centered and never reflective personality. If it were in the past, maybe she would tell the truth like Nan Li and make him sober. But now, he is older, he is 76 years old this year, and his health is not very good. A random stimulus can send him to the hospital. The truth was cruel and bloody, and he couldn't stand it anymore. Don't listen to this kid, he doesn't choose what he says. Fu Huayong seemed to be grasping a life-saving straw. You also think it has nothing to do with me, don't you? Yamingkaiu nodded, well, don't think too much and don't get angry with the child. A group of doctors filed in and wanted to see the old man's various examination reports. Yamingkaiu and Fu Nanli left the ward. In the corridor, Yamingkaiu looked solemn, you shouldn't have said that to your grandfather. Fu Nanli stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling window, eyes lowered, helpless sadness covering his whole body, I know. He didn't argue or explain anything for himself, he just said softly that he understood. Yamingkaiu was heartbroken, but still said, he is old. He is a stubborn old man. He has been arbitrary all his life. Everyone listens to him. Now, tell him that he has a great responsibility for his son's death. Do you think he can withstand this blow? Fu Nanli said solemnly, I know,
I won't say anything anymore. Yamingkyu patted his shoulder gently. I know you are a little aggrieved and unwilling, but there are some things that cannot be dealt with head on. It will cause both the enemy and yourself to suffer harm. Fu Nanli did not speak. Take your time. If you speak to the old man, just go in one ear and out the other. Just don't listen. You don't have to confront him or say anything to irritate him. Fu Nan bowed his head. This New Year's Eve was delayed until 12 o'clock. Even though Fu Nanli was no longer happy that his grandfather had interfered in his relationship, he still stayed in the hospital until Li Fang and the others reported the old man's condition and confirmed that he was fine and only needed to be hospitalized for a few days for observation before he left with confidence. Go. He and Yamingkyu took a car home respectively. At 12 o'clock, New Year's Eve, lights are everywhere, and the shopping mall is like a city that never sleeps, full of lights and flowers. When Fu Nanli was sitting in the car, passing by the river, the customs clock tower played the music of Westminster, followed by the sound of the bell, one after another, reaching far away. Rows of high-rise buildings along the river have light shows, and young people wait on the pedestrian streets along the river to count down to the new year. Wen Qiao's video call came over. He hesitated, hung up, and then made a voice call to her. What's wrong? Wen Qiao lay on the bed, a little confused. At this point, he should be in his own room in the Fu family mansion. There is nothing inconvenient about video chatting, right? Are you at home? The faint sound of distant bells sounded, and Wen Qiao knew that he was not at home, because his home was in Qianshui Lake, far away from the clock tower on the riverside, and the sound could not reach the Fu family's mansion. Not here. Wen Qiao held his chin. Why are you going near the river at this time? Fu Nanli forced a smile in his voice, just to prevent her from worrying. It's my friend's situation. Let's go out for a drink together. We can't push it away. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 770. Wen Qiao's voice was soft, which was unique when talking to Fu Nanli. It's so late, go home early and go to bed. The car will turn around and go to Shuiying Road in a while. I'll give you a red envelope. Wen Qiao lay on the bed, shaking his legs slightly. It's so late, no need, or you can just send it on your phone. The car parked in front of a convenience store on the street. Fu Nanli walked in and gave a crisp welcome voice. Fu Nanli stood in front of the shelf and pressed the camera to the rear. What style do you like? Do you really want to come over? The man said nothing, and his long fingers picked at the red envelopes on the shelf. He wanted to see her, hug her, feel a little human touch, and comfort his heart. Which one do you like? Wen Qiao looked carefully at the two bags of red envelopes in his hand. The one with the zodiac sign is quite cute. Fu Nanli put down another bag, then this one. Wen Qiao watched him walk to the cashier with the red envelope. In this electronic age, he still paid with cash in a traditional way. A red banknote was sandwiched between his fingers, which looked much better than others. Before he could switch the camera, he saw the cashier girl seemed to be blushing. Wen Qiao coughed lightly. Buy me some more candy, peach flavor, a new flavor from the convenience store. Fu Nanli's voice was gentle and affectionate. You are so old, do you still like to eat sweets? No matter how old I am, I will still be your little baby. This was Wen Qiao's way of declaring sovereignty, and he felt goosebumps all over his body when he said it. The cashier girl suddenly didn't dare to look at Fu Nanli secretly. It turned out that the handsome guy had a girlfriend. Fu Nanli picked up a pack of peach-flavored candies next to the cashier and showed it to her. Is this it? Fu Nanli placed the candy next to the red envelope. Let's settle together. The cashier took the banknotes politely and said, the total is 32 yuan, please give me 68 yuan. Fu Nanli slowly put the banknotes into his wallet,
picked up the red envelope and candy, and went out. The cashier cupped his face and said to the male colleague who was sorting the shelves, "What a handsome man. It's a pity that he has a girlfriend." The cashier lamented, "All good men have their own names, haha." In the Wen family, Wen Qiao took out a red velvet box from the drawer. Inside was a small and exquisite jade article carved with his zodiac sign and tied with a short red thread. 2 days ago, my mother went to Longhua Temple to burn incense and fulfill her vows because of her uncle's return. She had nothing to do, so she went with her. I asked for this consecrated jade in the temple. I originally planned to give it to him tomorrow. Now that he is here, I will give it to him tonight. After a while, his text message came, "It's at the back door, come out." Added another one, "Wear thicker clothes, it's cold outside." Wen Qiao wore a long black down jacket that reached to his feet, wrapping himself up like a silkworm chrysalis, then quietly walked out and closed the wooden door. On the last day of the lunar calendar, the weather was very good, and the black sky was dotted with cool stars. Wen Qiao put his hands in his down jacket pockets and looked around, but saw no one from Funanli. She called his name softly and walked forward in small steps. At the corner of the green brick courtyard wall, a long hand stretched out, and Wen Qiao was dragged into his arms by huge force. Under the cold moonlight, Funanli looked at the person in his arms, as if looking at her with a pair of innocent fox eyes. "Why didn't you scream?"